think it's hard to see what the benefit would be of sitting still and calming your mind until you actually do it.
So I always think about how interesting it is that after all of these years and as health practitioners and all the times that I've gone round and round around meditation, we both have just sort of settled on the fact that it has to be a part of our daily ritual.
It's not optional.
To stay grounded, not only in what we do, but also to feel healthy and to feel strong in our bodies.
Yeah.
And meditation is so hard for me.
It is not easy. When you first start, it's so intimidating.
Well, not only is it intimidating, but my brain is always just going, going, going. And I know that that's something that people struggle with all the time.
Yep.
But like you always say, it's a practice.
Yep. And it's just like flexing a muscle. It's like doing a bicep curl. You don't, at first, you can only lift 5 pounds. And then before you know it, you're lifting 20 pounds, right?
And you're meditating for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
5 minutes to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the easier it gets and the better it feels. And you have to be patient with yourself and be okay with that it's not going to look perfect or feel easy in the beginning because it's new.
Well, and then just doing meditation, the act of sitting and being still and being quiet and focusing on breath in it is in and of itself such a practice.
Yeah.
Because of how crazy and noisy the world can be and just how we are constantly bombarded with information and just thinking about, you know, how do we find stillness in a very busy day with kids and jobs and obligations and just tasks.
Yeah. It can be really hard to carve out the time, and that's why it doesn't have to be sophisticated at first. It can be just simple. It can be just sitting down. You know, it doesn't have to be this whole big production or, you know, something that you think is, you know, going to look in this way where you're going to feel really centered and you're not going to have any thoughts. It's not about not having thoughts. It's about awareness and being calm and
coming
still.
back to that breath.
Yeah. And a lot of the strategies that we talk about in our course, Surviving to Thriving, we incorporate those strategies. We give people those tools to use as part of their meditation, right?
Yeah.
And I think it makes it easier for them.
I don't know why I've had such a resistance to meditation.
Well, you like to move.
I like to move, and also I just feel it's the first thing for me to go off the list.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always historically, and now I know that, you know, it's actually a really important part of my being well.
Yep. I think that when you don't have, I think it's hard to see what the benefit would be of sitting still and calming your mind until you actually do it.
Right.
You know, and so just like when we sit here and tell people like, oh, exercise is such a mental game for people, you know, it's going to totally change your outlook and your set point in terms of joy. Meditation is kind of the same thing. When you tell somebody that for exercise, they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's
true.
So it's similar.
It just
Until
takes
you
practice.
do it, you can't possibly know what the benefits are.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you and I have a similar story. I think, you know, our first experience with meditation, both, but separately, we weren't in grad school at the same time.
Grad school, that was my first exposure to meditation in the form of Qigong.
Yeah.
Which is like a, what is it? It's just a Chinese moving meditation.
Moving meditation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember the object was to visualize a golden turtle.
Yeah.
And try to see it.
Oh,
and I could never
God.
visualize the golden turtle, and my family would always they were kind of making fun of me because they knew this was really uncomfortable for me, was to practice meditation and be still, and they would always say, Steph, have you seen the golden turtle yet? And I was like, no, I've never seen the golden turtle no matter what I could do. I could not visualize the golden turtle in this Qigong meditation. And I know you did the golden turtle meditation, didn't you?
Oh, I fully did. And I felt like I was like the runt of the litter because I would sit there and like kind of pout about it and not want to do it. And I wasn't embracing it and I wasn't doing the movement right. And I couldn't see the damn golden turtle. And they were talking about it all the time. And even one time, you know, the teacher said, has anybody swam with a turtle? And my friends knew that I had just been in Hawaii with my parents and my brother, and I actually did swim with turtles, but I didn't like that meditation teacher at all. We weren't friends, I wasn't jiving, and I had to talk, my friends made me talk about my experience of swimming with the turtles. I was so resistant.
And did you see the golden turtle?
No,
Yeah.
I did not see the golden turtle. But
Well, what I finally realized years later was it wasn't about seeing like one specific thing.
right.
And that was just a metaphor. I mean, I was completely missing the point.
Yep, and we were young, we
Yeah.
were in our 20s,
Yeah.
and it wasn't mainstream like it is now.
Yeah.
So this was like a good handful, for me, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was
Really
pretty
new.
on the scene, and we had no background or context for it.
New on our scene.
Yeah, new on our
new
scene.
on
It's
our
been
scene.
around forever, of course. But I think that now that felt to me really like boundaried and like there was a lot of rules to it and like I had to do it their way.
Yeah.
And that's been the best part of meditation for me is it's going to be my way.
Just like a new liberation because you took all the rules away from it.
Yeah, there's no rules. I'm just going to do whatever I want. You know, I've studied it. I've read a lot about it. I know a lot about the different forms, but I just do what I want to do and call it meditation because it is.
The one thing that I really love about it, just as I love exercise and movement, is that, and you and I have talked about this so many times, and I think you actually said it so well to me, is once you start, like you put on your shoes and you walk out the door and you just take a couple of steps and all of a sudden you're on your run.
Yep.
For me, it's I've created a little bit of space and I've set a timer
Yeah.
and I've sat down.
You set a timer.
I have to set a timer because otherwise I think about the clock and like how long I'm meditating and it gets in my head and I can't focus. So I take that element out of it, I set a timer, and then I find my space and I try to make it quiet and I just sit and I focus on my breath.
Yeah.
And I take all the pressure off myself to be having any type of other thing happening, just one thing. And then if I want, I can add in a mantra or words or whatever. But it's just like you said, it's like you put on your shoes and you walk out the door and you start running. I sit on my pillow or my mat,
Your spot.
my floor,
Yeah.
and I just start breathing.
Yeah.
And then it gets easier. And all of a sudden I'm done with the meditation and I feel changed.
Yeah. I feel changed
I
within
feel
the
changed.
first couple minutes,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
You know, especially I would say with my morning meditation when I just make myself go sit down on the balcony and I, you know, project my intention out into the world or just observe an awareness of my thoughts or just take in what I am reflecting out into the world, I feel like within minutes I'm vibrating differently.
Yeah.
It makes a huge impact on how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So,
And so ultimately, I think what it takes for me is like sort of a check of the ego and an opening of heart and an opening of mind to saying, this is something that it could be really beneficial for me. I have to change my mindset around all of these things so that I can get over my own stories and my own beliefs and just move towards health. Like we
Yes.
always talk about,
Yeah.
moving towards health every single day. And part of that health is sitting in your stillness
Yeah.
and like checking in with yourself and seeing, am I breathing? And how is this feeling? And am I present? And where's my gratitude? And because that's really, I think that's a lot about health too.
absolutely.
Is feeling your stillness and your presence and your gratitude.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my meditations is just going through all the things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, it totally changes your mindset. If you
Yeah.
just sit there and just compound the list and go through, it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is such a cool space to exist in your head.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
And maybe
Really
that's, you know, I mean, we always talk about how do we make this information accessible to people?
Yeah.
Because people struggle with meditation and just the idea of it. I think it's scary, it's intimidating, and just how how do we make health feel more accessible to people?
Yeah.
Whether it's meditation or movement or changing eating habits or feeling more courage
Yeah.
or more gratitude, just changing mindset, saying, yes, I can do this, saying it starts with putting my shoes on.
Yeah, just sit down.
My theoretical shoes.
Yeah, and people say, do I have to do it sitting in a certain spot, or can I do it laying down? Sure, you can do it laying down. They all say you have to do it sitting up. Of course you can do it laying down. You can make it yours. It's time and space to be quiet, to send love out into the universe,
Yeah.
to think of all the things that you're grateful for, to set an intention, to just have an awareness of your thoughts. My kids, that whole put on your shoes thing in a busy household, I do it with my kids at the end of the day. And, there's dinner and there's dishes and there's homework and they need to relax and they need, stories
Decompress.
and decompress. But if I don't just corral everybody and just take a moment and say, we're going to sit down for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and we just sit down and light a candle and maybe hold on to.
This is your family meditation?
This is family meditation. And we do it, summertime we kind of get off schedule, but I would say in spring, winter, and fall, we do it 5 nights out of 7, and
Yeah.
it makes such a huge difference. The kids look forward to it. You think they're gonna sit there for 3 minutes, and they end up staying for 13, 14, 20
Wow.
sometimes. I know.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll set an intention, sometimes I'll say some words before, sometimes we'll focus on one person and send them love in our family.
That's a really great idea.
Or sometimes we'll each say something that we like about ourselves or
Yeah.
that we're proud of, and then just focus on that. It can be really organic.
Can you imagine if every single person were to adopt some sort of stillness practice or meditative practice
I think the world would be so different.
and just have more gratitude and presence and open-heartedness around their health and just around being?
Yeah,
Like, what a world this would be.
I think the world would be so incredibly different. I
Yeah.
always say we are not human doings, which is what I think part of what you had a hard time stopping doing.
Human doing.
Doing.
Yeah.
We're all doing.
Yeah.
List. We're human beings. What happened to the just be?
Yeah.
It is so incredibly important to be still and have a sense of calm and awareness and purpose and intention, to reconnect with yourself and your surroundings and really make more meaning for your life and to vibrate in that higher self.